If you do it, it'll turn out okay. And welcome back to Talking Caffeine. I have a guest talking about, well, his what he talks about is in his name. We'll let him introduce himself.
Yes, hello. I'm Mythology and Gaming. I focus on, as my name kind of shows, the mythology that's found and in video games, But yeah.
Cool. So what made you interested in this subject?
So I have always been interested in mythology ever since I was a little kid. I believe the first interest really came from when I watched the Disney Hercules for the first time. That sort of piqued my interest about like Greek mythology first and foremost, and then from there,
Hercules that got basic mythology all wrong.
Yeah, it gets some of the names right, even though it's Hercules is the Roman name for Heracles. But anyway, that's besides the point. But
I think the funniest part about that one is how Hera loves Hercules in this version.
Yeah, how Hera and Zeus are actual, mother and father figure. But yeah, that sort of piqued my interest, and so I started reading more up on Greek mythology, and then as I got older, I started looking into other belief systems and different cults of worship. So, like Egyptian mythology is another one, Norse, sometimes even into the Vedic belief, Japanese folklore. So, since there's such a wide variety, and I think thousands of religions that have different mythologies in them.
And you found clues of these in the games you play?
Yes. So, growing up as a gamer, I, had played The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, Pokemon, Kingdom Hearts, all these different types of games. And as I was playing them, like I never really noticed any of the mythology behind them, because I didn't know. And then as I was learning more about the mythology just in general, I started looking at the games and realizing, oh, there are so many that just take, so much inspiration from different cults of worship and different mythological themes.
I've been browsing your channel, and you have a lot of different Kingdom Hearts videos. It's like each mythology for each world or the game in general.
Yes. So for the as of right now, we are going through the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 1, more specifically the definitive edition, which is the final mix version. And with that, my initial thought behind it when I had the idea to actually cover that game was to just do one video, spend 10 minutes talking about Wonderland, 10 minutes talking about Olympus Coliseum, and then I started to look more into it, and I was like, oh no, this doesn't just cover mythology. It covers folklore and fairy tales and actual history. So I realized that each world needed its own dedicated video. So now we're very much near the end of that series and getting ready for our next one.
And by series, you mean first game?
Well, technically, yes. But we are planning to do another series of videos on a different game, covering the chapters in that one, or worlds, lack of a better term.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of a game called Danganronpa?
I believe so.
Well, me and my friends into it, try to do an episode on here about that.
Mhm.
And about 4 hours into the video, we realized we're still on the first game, so we had to go make it a whole mini series. So
Nice.
yeah, so I can't wait to see whenever you continue the series. I can't wait to see your thing about Castle Oblivion.
Yes, with Chain of Memories. Yep. We'll be taking a break from Kingdom Hearts once we finish it, but we will come back. There is more to cover, plenty of games.
So, did you play Kingdom Hearts back in the day when cutscenes were unskippable?
Yes. So my brother and I were avid fans of the Kingdom Hearts series. And when it first came out, my brother had actually gotten the game since I think it came out while he was in high school. And and so we started playing it, and I'm there like cheering him on and like covering my eyes but looking through my fingers when he was trying to fight Sephiroth. So I was there from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, it's fun. I have a few cutscenes memorized. I saw them so often in the PS2.
Yep.
So so any not just in Kingdom Hearts, but as any mythology took you by surprise when you saw them mentioned in the game, or at least referenced in games?
Um, let's see. Hold on. Let me go through my. um, I'm trying to see if there's anything that took me by surprise. I'm going through my catalog of videos to quickly run through them in my head. Okay, so surprisingly, I was actually kind of surprised with the Olympus Coliseum world in Kingdom Hearts, because it actually takes the kind of mishmash that the original Hercules movie did with combining, Greek and Roman stylings and beliefs, and kind of went whole hog with it in the world. I think when they were making it, they saw the two being used and then just decided, hey, let's go full on into this. And they actually utilize Greek and Roman belief and mythology pretty well to make a pretty cohesive world that you would, consider just all one thing.
What about the the Midgard mythology?
You say Midgard, you mean like Norse myth?
No, I meant like the town of the main town of Final Fantasy VII, where because Cloud's in that game too, in that world.
Yes. Unfortunately, there's no mention of Midgar,
Yeah.
but within Final Fantasy VII, there is quite a bit of Norse mythology that they take from. I mean, you have Midgar, which is the initial world or it's like the first 5 hours of the game, which is meant to be a representation of Midgard within Norse myth, which was where every normal person lived. And then later on, you learn about Nibelheim, which was Cloud and Tifa's home, and and that's a play off of one of the realms of the dead called Niflheim, which is where the goddess Hel presided and ruled as the ruler of the dead. But yeah, I wish that there was more of Cloud in Kingdom Hearts 1, but unfortunately there's just not that much. Though in one of my next videos, we are coming back to Olympus Coliseum for just a bit to talk about Sephiroth. So, which that one I'm super excited for.
The platinum match.
Yes, yes.
So, so yeah, the the character, yeah, unlike the Disney world's character mythology, the mythology of the characters from the FF from the Square Enix games is that they're less like their original than the Disney's are.
Yeah, so they're essentially just planting the Final Fantasy characters into the worlds. If I remember correctly, Sephiroth and Cloud are the only like Squaresoft characters that actually show up in a Disney world, because the rest of them, Leon, Sid, oh no, I will say Leon and Yuffie do show up in Olympus Coliseum, but not in a story aspect. But the rest of them are in the more specified Kingdom Hearts worlds. So I believe when we were first visiting through Traverse Town, which was the second world after Destiny Islands, the tutorial world, I do talk about how they connect to, in psychology, the id, ego, and superego based upon their personalities, which is what I used, if I remember correctly, to talk about just the world in general.
So like how does each character do those three what Freudian Freud stuff?
Freudian, yeah. So for those that don't know, the id, ego, and superego is going to be the caring, more thinking of someone else perspective. The ego is going to be the sort of middle ground, based in reality. And then the id is going to be the personal, more desires aspect, or impulsive. So you have Yuffie, which is the more impulsive because she, is very flamboyant. She's very loud. She's very excitable. So she's based on, she does everything based on instinct. And then you have Leon, which represents the ego, who is very methodical. When he attacks, he's not running at you, he's walking towards you. So he's watching you. And then you have the superego, which is Aerith, who is, in her game, the white mage. And she is essentially a tendant of Gaia, so a healer. So she represents the person who is looking out and thinking of the other person. And in the world of Traverse Town, that's sort of how you go about the world. You start out with the id, which is going off of instinct, figuring out what this world is, how you go about it, and then learn from Leon through the ego to understand how to move about the world, how to read it, essentially. And then once you meet all the characters and you have Donald and Goofy in your party at that point, you understand the superego, so you're thinking of other people at that point by the end of the world. But that's on the psychology aspect of it. And on the mythological, there is also a point in that world where you talk about the heart or soul of a world, which does have a lot of ties to not only philosophical but mythological, as a lot of times different belief systems consider the world as a living being.
Yeah, kind of like they do in the FF7, where like the live stream is like the blood of the planet.
Right, exactly.
And here we have hearts of planets.
Mm-hmm. And in official documentation, the world of Final Fantasy VII is called Gaia. I don't think they actually say that in the game, but I know for documentation they do title it as Gaia, which in Greek and even in Roman belief, Gaia or Terra is representative of, or the personification of the earth.
So, so what's the story? What's the story that? Not spoiling too much your things so people can actually watch it. Watch these videos. By the way, link will be in the thing. But what's the mythology of our starting area and our six main characters? Not six main characters. Our three main characters and three side characters on Destiny Islands.
Wait, could you repeat the beginning part again?
So, what's the mythology of our starting area of Destiny Islands?
Yes.
Our three main characters and our three side characters.
So there's quite a bit with it. So first and foremost, you have Destiny Islands, which in and of itself is a stepping off point of your destiny. In a lot of different belief systems, the fact of destiny is also considered fate. So what is the fate of a person? In Greek belief, you have the Fates, which are three women who are essentially seamstresses. Terrible with that word. And you have Atropos, Clotho, and Lachesis. One is to create the string that represented a person's life. Another person is meant to measure it, essentially saying how long that person might live and what events might take place. Perhaps there's a knot in it in some way. And then the last one is meant to cut the string of that person's life. And that cutting is meant to represent the death of a person. So every human and even the gods had a string of their own that the Fates had held, cut, measured, whatnot. And in Destiny Islands, there are I also found and equated a grouping of three, which three is a very important number, not only in numerology, but within a lot of different belief systems. You have the three fates in Greek myth, you have the three Norns, who are the fates of Norse myth. You have the Trimurti, which is the triad within Vedic or Hindu belief, which consists of Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, acting as a creator, manager, and destructor of people's fate, essentially. And then within Destiny Islands, you have Sora, Kairi, Riku. You also have the different areas. You have the main area where you interact with all the kids, you collect the logs and fish and whatnot. The secret area, and then the other beach. I can't remember exactly the area that's called. But then, of course, with your friends on that island, you also have Titus, Waka, and Selfie. So there's a lot of rule of three going on within the Destiny Islands. Yeah, and it's the entire journey through the first world is your fate, or Sora's fate, and essentially Riku's and Kairi's. But since Sora is the main character, that's where we are seeing the fates fold.
And that's we also noticed. Like, I'm not sure about the other characters, but the three side characters here are definitely much younger than their counterparts.
Which characters?
Titus, Waka, and Selfie.
Oh yes. So yeah. So every the Final Fantasy characters were all aged down so that everyone could be within a year apart from each other, because I think everyone's supposed to be around like 13 or 14.
I think Riku is the oldest, at least
yeah.
Of our three. I don't know how he strikes the other three.
Yeah, I believe Riku is supposed to be like 15 or 16.
So so what's the obviously they at least if most people if you guys don't know about this the what was is it I think these guys are the Japanese names for Lancey and Air.
Yes. I can't remember exactly. Um, if I, oh goodness, because I know I wrote it down and there was information that I forgot to include um, when I wrote it. But yeah, each of the um, different characters, Sora, Kairi, and Riku, their Japanese names represent land, sea, and air, which I think it's Sora is land, and then
No,
Kairi is
I think
sky.
I think Sora's Sky.
Is it okay?
So I'm guessing because I think they're supposed to equivalent to the same thing on Birth by Sleep.
Right, with
Ventus,
Terra,
Terra,
Aqua, and
and Aqua.
Ventus.
I could be wrong though, but I think they're supposed to like to match up.
Hmm.
Yeah, and Terra and Aqua definitely land in water.
Yeah, exactly.
So so so, so I sorry I think you mentioned that, but what's the deal with the three again?
With the like the three kids, the three
Yeah,
areas,
everything's in
the
groups of three. Most stuff's in groups of
yes.
three.
So, um, with the grouping of three, that's seen in a lot of different belief systems, um, due to the fact that within um, a lot of different cults of worship, the number three is um, a venerated number because it is a complete cycle, beginning, middle, and an end. Um, so when um, when looking at the different characters, you have um, you let's look at like Sora, Kairi, and Riku, for instance, as a grouping of three. So you start out the game, with Sora. You play through the game and whatnot, and then by the middle, or more so towards the end, you see Kairi. You save her, you interact with her, you can actually talk to her, and then by the end of the game, you are also essentially saving Riku. Um, so you have their grouping of three, but you also have that beginning, middle, and end. Um, in Greek belief, you have that rule of three, which is considered with the fates. You also have um, the different realms of the underworld are also exist within a rule of three within Greek belief. You have, Tartarus, which is the very pit, the lowest point of the underworld, where every sort of bad person, including the titans and giants, go to. Um, and then you have
Yeah, the
Asphodel.
worst of the worst, even worse than the field of punishment up in Upper Hades.
Yes, exactly. And then you have the fields of Asphodel, which is where normal people would go. And then you have Elysium, which is where essentially the heavenly, the kind of
Best of the
the
best.
demigods, yes, the best of the best persons would go to.
Oh, and then the Isle of the Blessed for super best.
Mhm. So the rule of three pretty much exists within every single religion in some fashion because it is a complete cycle.
So, is there? mythology about the fruit on that island?
Oh, the Paopu?
Yeah.
Not exactly. So the Paopu fruit is, for any who have not played the games before, um, they have a folklore in the game that is whoever you share the Paopu fruit with, you will be connected to, um, no matter what. Um, so there's not really a now. There's plenty of different fruits that are seen within different religions and different belief systems. Like you have the apple of Eden, you have the apples of the Hesperides, um, but none of them sort of have this sort of connection quality. Um, so it's kind of difficult to find some sort of equating myth or belief. Um, but the look of them is as a star fruit is connecting to the stars that are all over the game, constantly looking at the stars, towards the stars, um, to bigger and better things, the ambition that people have, especially Riku in the story, as he's always looking to the stars for bigger and greater things, when um, the connection that he's actually looking for is right there with him, has been with him the entire time, Sora and Kairi. So that's sort of what the star fruit of the Palpu is supposed to represent.
I know if you know, say or not. Have you noticed? I've been saying about the different translations and stuff, and I was wondering if that has had a translation into mythology too, because apparently, from what I read, apparently their Sora, Kairi, and Riku's interaction in Japan is totally different from their interaction in the English dub.
Yes. So I haven't specifically looked at the like language translations for differences, because there are some nuances, some context that is not properly, or that has not been properly translated from the Japanese into English. Like, for instance, the use of the term master is seen within the English version of Kingdom Hearts, but it's not used in the Japanese, because the word that they use is supposed to be like wielder in the proper context. But I have gotten some notes from a lot of different people who have seen the videos, a lot of my friends who I bounce ideas off of whenever I am making these videos, and a lot of people have said, like, oh, there's a translation error here, or the translations in a different language for this specific thing is actually different, and they mean something else in this specific language. Just recently, when I put out my latest video, it was the 2 videos ago, covering the first visit into Hollow Bastion, with the different books that we have. There's not much information to go off of with them, but surprisingly, the names are very different in different languages. Actually, let me pull up that comment real quick.
I think that I think a lot. I think from what I said, again, more mythology or not, it's more translation, but like 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 the Kingdom Hearts 2 hug thing. It means like the English dub, from what I've read, it's simple hug, but in Japan culture, the hug means a lot more.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I found that comment that somebody posted about the books that were in Hollow Bastion in the library. So in German, apparently, so you have the 7 books: Kama, Mava, Theon, Azal, Saleg, Nahara, and Hafet. And then apparently in German, you have Karma, Illy's Death, Zahn's Opus, Aza's Luck, Troll, Druid, and White Magic. So I have taken note of that, and later on, once we do finish the series, I do plan on coming back and creating an entire, I think it's going to be like a 16-hour video covering every single world, or like, every video combined to make a 16-hour movie, essentially. And there I'll update information, add in new information, like those translations. So the different translations from Japanese to English or to other languages, I'm definitely going to look more into once we get to that point.
Yeah.
But of course, that's, still down the pipeline.
Yeah. So what is so is there a mythology about is it Traverse Town? It's like a history of that in other places.
Yeah, so Traverse Town specifically, I'll have 4 videos essentially covering that for our 4 visits within the game. And Traverse Town itself acts in 2 different ways. One as a in-between place that so it acts as an in-between place for people going going from one place, their home, to another. So with Sora's case, his world got destroyed, Destiny Islands, and then he ends up in Traverse Town, but Traverse Town is not going to be his new home. It stays as that in-between world that he goes from and into the next world. And that equates into the Buddhist belief known as the Bardo. And the Bardo is essentially a multiple step transition from a person's death and from a person's death into a person's rebirth. Because within Buddhist belief, and even within Hindu belief, formerly Vedic belief, they believe in reincarnation, that life does not have a beginning, middle, and end, but a continuation. That, yes, you are on this journey through this specific life, but based upon the karma that you collect, that you exude, that you go through the Bardo, which is the different steps, and then you become a new life, a new person, animal, being of some sort. As well, within Traverse Town, Traverse Town also exists as a purgatorial state. And for those that don't know, purgatory is a specifically Catholic belief within Christianity that is essentially a process some have equated it to a specific place that people reside in. If they, don't go to heaven or don't go to hell, but in reality, it is a process that people go through before they end up in heaven, where a person is stripped away of um, all of their sin, all of their material and worldly desires, possessions, ideas, thoughts, and then made into a new, more holy type of person. Um, so once with Traverse Town, you enter into it with um, sort of that perspective, understanding of what you experience within Destiny Islands. And by the end of the game, you are no longer the same person once you reconnect all the worlds, save all the worlds and whatnot. And you essentially become a new person based upon the experiences that you have gone through. Of course, that's just Traverse Town as a world itself. There's still plenty of different, mythological and even historical connections that are seen within the world of Traverse Town. One of the biggest that is seen is the accessory shop sign, which here I can actually pull up if you're all right with me sharing a screen.
Okay. Share?
Yes, give me just a moment to pull that up. Oh, spelled that wrong. Oh, where is it? Okay. All right. So this is.
Okay.
Yes. So this site I use sometimes to get some more ideas on, positioning and whatnot of the world. But this is the first district of Traverse Town, and this symbol right here is the accessory shop. And it's a fleur-de-lis. And the fleur-de-lis has a lot of historical and even mythological connections and stories that are behind it. Originally, it comes from Mesopotamian belief, and it comes in a couple different ways. First and foremost, it is a holy and divine symbol. So it is meant to represent either a iris or a lily, based on the fact that the lilies and irises within the Fertile Crescent, which is where Mesopotamia was, Sumer, Acadia, and whatnot, which is now Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran, during the springtime, the lilies and irises would bloom, and that was brought on by the mythological story of Inanna's descent into the underworld, and her husband's and her sister-in-law's trading from being in the underworld and being taken out of it. So it's a story of the seasons. If you know anything about the Persephone myth.
Oh yeah, Hades was in love with his niece, married her, and her mom was so upset for 6 months, or 3 months, at least so months of the year. Winter happens because she's crying.
Exactly. Yes. So the story of Inanna's descent, that's where the story of Persephone comes from. And so in this story, you have, if I remember correctly, it is Geshtinana, who is the goddess within Mesopotamian belief, Sumerian belief, of springtime. And as she comes back into the world from the underworld, all of the irises and lilies bloom. And to show this, a lot of different Mesopotamian creatures that were born from Tiamat, which was the primordial sea goddess, have caps of divinities. And of course, a lot of different other creatures and figures would have a cap of divinity that would have a fleur-de-lis atop it. From that point, the fleur-de-lis would move into Egyptian belief, and then even into Christianity. From there, its historical significance would lead into the French monarchy adopting it to show that the Virgin Mary, or even a separate angel like Gabriel, would come down and give that to the divine kings and queens to show their purity, to show their divine right to rule. So from there, we have the fleur-de-lis that shows up as a tool and symbol of divinity to show that this is a holy place. But yeah.
Yeah. I see. I think there are two main towns. Is there any Greek mythology about Radiant Gardens or Hollow Bastion?
Oh boy. To be completely honest, there is so much mythology that I've had to make multiple videos.
Wow.
I just finished the script today for the return visit to Hollow Bastion.
Like return visit in the first game, and return visit in the second game, or
the first game, because you go to Hollow Bastion the first time, fight Maleficent, and you fight Dark Riku or Ansem Riku, and then return to Traverse Town, and then go back to face off against
the Sildicky Hole.
Yes, exactly. So, yes, there are 3 videos pertaining to that, and then of course my the video after that is going to be covering the super bosses, which there is one super boss within Hollow Bastion that not going to reveal anything yet, so that will remain.
Okay.
But yes, for Hollow Bastion
specifically, it's the super boss you fight there, the same person that the final boss in Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Like,
but yeah,
from what I think he's the only optional boss that's actually canon.
So technically, all of the super bosses are canon. I think the only one that isn't is it's either Sephiroth or Kurtzisa. I think it actually might be Kurtzisa is the not canon one, but of course, because he's never brought up again, you can't really say anything is
not canon. I guess I thought it was Sephiroth too, because either he doesn't recognize you, or you're so unimportant to him that he doesn't recognize you. You know, you battle him the first time, like, oh, who are you again?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in the second game, when he shows up to you in a cutscene. If I remember correctly, I think it's Donald that calls him out. So Donald is aware of Sephiroth. But yes, within Hollow Bastion specifically, there is um, not surprisingly not a lot of Greek mythology specifically, but there's a lot of Christian mythology, a lot of
Oh,
Abrahamic belief that's and iconography that's within
like
it.
you said, is it Christian, Jewish, Islam,
Mhm.
Abraham mythology, or
Yeah. So when I reference or when I um, use the term Abrahamic, I'm speaking on the main three:
okay?
Judaism, Islamic, and Christian
Because I didn't
belief.
know if it was more specific to one of the other branches, because sometimes their mythology differs a little bit.
Right. Exactly. So each of them branch off into have their own differences because of the history that they come from. So, you know, if anyone's not aware of anthropology and whatnot, Islam originates within the um, Arabian Peninsula, and then Christianity originates within um, Israel, Canaan, and Egypt, as well as Judaism. Judaism sort of starts Christianity, um, since they come from uh, Canaan and Egypt. So, and then from there, they split off and have their own massive influence on mankind and history, whether good or bad. So,
So, I know but you're gonna be a while before you get to the second game, because you got other games to get to too. But is there a difference between mythology of when it's just Hollow Bastion versus when it's the whole Radiant Garden?
um, so I haven't looked at Kingdom Hearts 2. Actually, I don't think I've played Kingdom Hearts 2 in like over a year at this point, which is kind of sad because I love that game. But I believe that there would be different elements to it because essentially it is a different world. One, because it looks entirely different, um, but also because there are different things happening that can potentially be mythological in essence.
Uh, so then you probably don't know nothing about the mythology of Twilight Town either. Then,
Um, Unfortunately, no, I have not looked into Twilight Town. I will say there is a lot of magic that happens with Twilight, since Twilight is that sort of um, very magical time between the night and the day because the sun is setting. Um, so a lot of it's weird because there's a lot of different sailing belief that revolves around Twilight. That more spirits are able to be released from the realm of the dead and come to the realm of the living. Um, there are sometimes stories of when the sun hits the horizon at twilight. You know, you'll have a beam of light that happens at some point. Um, but of course, with Twilight Town specifically, there's not much that I can go off of since I have not
okay.
looked at that.
So I guess for the final non Disney world, what's is there mythology about the end of the world?
Oh yes. So in and of itself, the end of the world is the name, the end. Um, and a lot of different belief systems have a sort of apocalyptic idea or how or a belief on how everything comes to an end, whether that be absolute destruction or gentle destruction. Um, Most famously, the uh, Ragnarok within Norse belief um, has their end of the world, where Skoll and Hati, who are children of Fenrir, who is also a child of Loki, um, go and swallow the sun and the moon. So there's no more night and day. You have Fenrir, who is the monstrous wolf who bit off the hand of Tyr, will run to Asgard and kill and eat Odin. You have Thor and Jormungandr, who is the serpent that wraps around the world, fighting, and they both die. So it's the all of the Aesir and Vanir gods within Norse belief will die in this gruesome battle against the giants of Jotun or the Jotunheim, and many of the different realms will be destroyed within Ragnarok. Um, and since it is a um, Christian belief, or since it takes a lot of inspiration from Christianity while being within the medieval cycle, it not only ends but begins anew with new life forming in the form of essentially Adam and Eve. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's the. So we talked about the Olympic Coliseum and the Disney worlds. Um, I guess I don't know. I guess the only weird one that I know of is Wonderland.
Mm-hmm. So Wonderland's a fun one because the entire world is a storybook. You know, you have when you interact with the world, they pop up like a pop up book. Um, so it plays off of that imagination that you would see in a children's book, which is a really fun thing that I don't think any other creator has actually talked about. Um, Not to my own horn there, but um, yeah. So um, the primary mythology that's seen within Wonderland, and especially within Alice in Wonderland, is the, as I'd mentioned before, the story of the seasons. So you have the Persephone myth, you have the story of Inanna's descent into the underworld, because Alice equates to that sort of story. You know, she follows the White Rabbit down into the hole, falling into an entirely different realm where nothing really makes sense, which is very understandable when you consider we exist within a world that kind of makes sense. And then going into the underworld, it wouldn't make sense if we were still living with that understanding of our natural world. Um, and a lot of times within the story of Wonderland, there are doors that she will enter through. I mean, in the very first area of Wonderland and Kingdom Hearts, we to go into the bizarre room, we open a door that then leads to multiple other doors. Um, and within the story of Alice in Wonderland, she essentially does the same thing. When she falls and enters the first room, it's a hallway that's filled with different doors. And that's sort of how a lot of different people, a lot of different systems kind of see uh, the afterlife, that a person might have their own afterlife through a specific door. Um, but as well, you have a lily that shows up as one of the flowers. You have a lot of different nonsense things that you would see. It's sort of pulling from that Persephone myth.
So I think besides our main characters, I think Alice is the younger person we interact with in all these games.
Um, maybe I I haven't really looked much into the ages of all the
Well,
characters.
she's definitely a lot shorter than Sora.
Well, true,
So is
but so
there
are
is there
Moogles.
yeah, but is there mythology about uh the pure no darkness, pure light
So like the
maidens?
light and darkness.
No, like the seven the Princess of Heart, or anybody that has pure.
Oh, okay. Um, not specifically. Um, so within the actual like story of Kingdom Hearts, I don't think the seven um, pure lights and the 13 darknesses was officially a thing um, until they made Final Mix. Um,
Okay,
and we're in the process of making Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts 2.
it's mainly an in mythology of the game, not out external thing.
Right. The using 7 and 13, again, pulling from that numerology, um, you know, 7 is seen as lucky and 13 is seen as bad luck. Um, and within a lot of different beliefs, actually pulling from that, the number 13 as bad luck actually comes from, um, surprisingly enough, the it's believed that within the Christian story of the Last Supper, as Jesus is talking to his disciples, um, Judas is considered by some to be that 13th guest. So, since he is the one who betrays Jesus, it is considered unlucky. Within Norse belief, it's Loki who is considered to be the 13th guest, who comes in during Baldur's um, dinner and party when he is essentially testing his invulnerability, who unfortunately ends up dying because of mistletoe. Um, so that's why 13 is seen as unlucky, but not really sure on where 7 gets its luck from. Um,
That's why I didn't know if there was any history about seven people with
7
no
pure lights.
darkness at all in any of the
Yeah.
places.
No, there's, at least from what I've looked into, there's not much.
So okay, this is more of a personal opinion than in your knowledge of stuff. Um, do you think the Sixers, besides Kyrie, the the main character, do you think the 6 people they picked in the first game represent pure light?
So which 6 specifically?
Alice, Jasmine, Belle.
Oh. Well, I mean, they are princesses. Um, Technically, Alice isn't a princess, because she is just a um, daughter of a noble.
Yeah.
So unless you call nobles kings and queens, but
Well,
um,
same for Kyrie too, unless she's the prince, so she's the, like somebody a ruler, she's of the ruler of Radiant Garden or something that we don't know about.
so yeah, that's sort of the um, I was actually talking to a few people about this because it's never really brought up how her family, how she is a princess within um, the Kingdom Hearts universe, because you have Ansem who ruled the castle. So I'm under the impression that Kyrie is the granddaughter of Ansem, and that her grandmother was either the consort or wife of Ansem, which
Which
then
I guess
made
would which I would make Ienzo her uncle.
yeah. So
Yeah, I always thought maybe the one that wasn't a princess, Ariel. I guess when go on land is with the darkness of her heart.
well, I think the reason that they didn't pick or they didn't have Ariel, especially in the final, in Hall of Bastion, being the princess for it, I think that was more so a design choice because they had an entire underwater world and they had her um, as a mermaid. Um, I think they just decided to keep her as the mermaid because one, they needed they I don't think they would want to use or create an entire different model just for one world when you don't ever see that model in
Okay.
Atlantica. So that's at least my understanding of it. I could be completely wrong though.
You're probably right. I just thought was her desire. I guess was darkness.
Well, because I mean, it's also um, because I think her story within Atlantica is sort of a um, brighter reflection of Riku's because she has, ambitions. Um, she likes the world outside of her own, um, but she's not willing to, or she's more innocent in a way that makes her light stronger. Um, and she understands that when she does take Triton or Trident, um, that she essentially hurts people or that she has hurt someone. And so she regrets it, which is, I think, a stronger light than with Riku, where he hurts someone and goes, I'm doing this for the good of everyone. Be hurt. So,
Uh,
um,
I guess that they consider Alice one because he's too young to realize stuff like that. He's only like a kid, still a kid, maybe.
yeah, potentially. The way the headcanon that I have is that she is, you know, a kid who has had to grow up um, on her own, either, too fast or um, kind of the end result of Sora, because Sora acts like a kid through most of it, and then by the end, he's a um, he's not really a kid anymore because he's had to grow up. He's had to take on responsibilities. So I think Alice has to do that um, sort of in her own world, essentially.
So yes, other like I said, the weird one that not really weird, but the one that's based on real world things is Tarzan.
Yeah, Tarzan's. Um, so yes, Tarzan is a world that exists within our own. Surprisingly, so does what is it, Neverland, because you do go to Big Ben, which if I remember correctly, is technically in the same time period as uh, Tarzan, or it's a decade or two after. But of course, time works differently in all the worlds. So, um, you know, since it is a later world, it might make sense. But yeah, Tarzan, especially, you see a world map, you are in Africa essentially. Though it's not specifically mentioned, you do um, interact with hippos and see bamboo um, and gigantic trees that you would see in West Africa.
So, besides Kingdom Hearts, what other games have you got into the mythology of?
Um, so in the past, I've covered games like Halo. I did a series where I talked about the different alien races that are in them. Um, I've covered um, in a couple of shorts, talked about God of War, um, which I plan on doing a couple more of. I've done some videos talking about Pokemon. There's quite a few that I've done for Bloodborne, which was one of my all-time. It's my all-time favorite FromSoft game, and um, there's a lot of different hidden mythology within that as well. Worked on um, Legend of Zelda, done that. Bioshock, Shadow of the Colossus. But yeah. And our next game that we're going to be covering in the next series is going to be South of Midnight.
So, you have a favorite mythology that stands out, like Egypt, Mesopotamian, Norse, Roman, Greek, Native American?
I'm always a big fan of Greek mythology. That's where I started. Um, it is funny that um, with what I've been studying, because essentially my field is comparative mythology, where I look at, you know, not only the specific myths and stories of this belief, but I see, you know, does it come from someplace else? Is it influenced by another piece or another story that comes from a neighboring region? Um, so a lot of times, yes, Greek mythology is my favorite, but then I'll I'll look at the stories and I'll be like, oh, there was a very similar story that came from, Sumerian belief, 800 years prior. So it's definitely fun to sort of read into that or look into it.
So, definitely myths from other places affect myths of other places.
Yep, absolutely. That's why that's honestly why we have Norse mythology the way we do now, is because of Christian belief. Historically, the um, the northern people of Europe, Scandinavia, Norway, and so on, they had their old Norse beliefs that uh, aren't too well known at this point because of the fact that they didn't really write things down because it was all oral. Um, and the only times that they would actually write things would be um, in picture form. So if they wanted to depict uh, Woden, who uh, was the pre-Norse Odin, um, they would essentially draw him to, either pull his power to them or bring honor to him. So a lot of the Norse stories actually are inspired by Christian belief as Christianity became more prominent in those regions. Now, whether you say that that's a good thing or a bad thing, up for debate, but there is definite influence from one another.
Yeah, I know about the Greek Roman stuff, but I never knew if they adapted their Greek stuff to their ones, or they just transferred it over and copied them.
So, specifically for the like Roman belief and Greek belief. The society that lived within or around Rome and on the Italian peninsula were the Etruscans, which were a seafaring society. Um, they were not as powerful as the Greeks. They did have power. They did trade with the Greeks, especially in their stories. So you do see figures like Poseidon show up in both belief systems. Um, I can't remember the specific name of Poseidon in Etruscan belief, but you do have another figure like Helios show up as well. Um, Again, I cannot remember his name, unfortunately. I wish I could. Um, but um, you have those different figures that are very similar. Now, um, because a lot of the people of Greece came from the Indo-Europeans, um, a lot of archaeologists and anthropologists have been able to figure out that a lot of these um, beliefs in the gods, like Persephone or Artemis or Athena, um, come from the Indo-Europeans who had their own goddess or gods that um, that they worshipped. And surprisingly enough, as Rome came into power, Rome started to become, dominant throughout the Mediterranean. Those Indo-European beliefs would actually become barbaric, or the Romans would consider those prior beliefs that inspired what they believe as barbaric because it was outside of what they, looked at or understood during that time. So everything that we have has been influenced by everything that came before.
Yeah, I made a joke one time, like, I don't know what would happen if instead of the Roman names, we gave the planets their Greek version names,
Mm-hmm.
like the 9 planets. Let's see, Hermes, Aphrodite, wherever Earth was, uh,
Gaia, because it's
Eris,
Terra.
Zeus, Kronos,
Mm-hmm.
Uranus, and Poseidon, and
Yep.
Hades.
Mm-hmm. And um, those names for the planets um, from with coming from Roman belief is because um, that's when um, astronomy really started to take more prominence. You do have the Greeks who studied astronomy, but they um, didn't understand the planets and stars in the way that the Romans would hundreds of years later.
So, do you think Hades got upset that he's been demoted to a dwarf god?
I think we're more so upset that um, Pluto has been demoted to a dwarf celestial body. Um, but
Thinking of Hades mythology, and there's I've listened to other mythology people talk about stuff, and apparently in most places, in most old mythology, Hades isn't that terrible a character, but only like in Disney and other places, Hades is
mhm,
like, let's make him the bad guy.
yes, so yeah, in a lot of different um, belief systems, the um, realm of the dead is just that, the realm of the dead. And the god or goddess that presides over it are typically seen as just curators of the realm. So essentially, they are managers. And if you want to equate it to today's standards, and you know, the what? Yeah. My wife was just like, "Yeah, I just work here." Um, so, you have figures like Hades. If you've ever played the actual Hades games, you see um, the god Hades sitting at his desk going over paperwork. That's essentially what Hades did in a very real sense. Um,
Like
and
I said, I think the only bad thing he ever did was kidnap that for Stephanie. Really,
yes, so kidnapping and making a deal behind someone's back. He did cheat at one point, but there's not really a lot of like mythology surrounding Hades as there is the other gods, and that's actually for a very good reason. Um, as because a lot of these stories um, that we have concerning the gods were essentially anthropologically crafted by humans. Um, they were crafted in a way for us to,
really, you don't. I mean, it's not based on
right? Who would
reality.
it? Okay, well, that's a whole different uh, basket to open up, but we'll leave that for now. Um, the a lot of the stories were used and crafted to bring understanding to, you know, the natural world and the unnatural world. Why do we hear, these sounds in the middle of the night, in the middle of the woods that we can't see? Oh, well, it's a monster, of course. Um, so for a lot of these stories, especially in Greek belief and especially in other um, religions of the time, you never really wanted to craft stories of the god of the dead, um, for the very simple reason of you do not want to piss off the god of the dead, because if you piss him off, he comes to you, asks why you said such things, and then he'll take you to the realm of the dead forever.
And
Um,
maybe in the a term of the Greek, maybe the filter punishment instead of the other two, a neutral or a
exactly.
good one.
Right. So there's not a lot of stories because of the fact that you never really wanted to, bring on the um, that specific god to punish you. So that's why we don't really have a lot of stories for Hades. Um, in the case of Mesopotamian belief with the Inanna's descent, um, you have her sister, who is the goddess of the dead, Ereshkigal. Um, there are very few stories of Ereshkigal. We know that she existed thanks to that descent story, but that's one of the only stories that we have of her because, again, you don't want to piss off the gods, especially the ones of the dead. Um, in the case of Hades, going back to what you were saying with him being depicted as a bad guy, that comes from the Judeo-Christian understanding of the underworld. Um, within Judaism, for instance, the realm of the dead was very bland. It essentially how we view Hades today as a very plain existence, or afterlife. That's essentially what ancient um, Judaism, um, or ancient Hebrew and Canaanite belief saw. Um, but as Christianity started to come into power, start to craft their own understanding of the world from Judaism, that's when they started to equate the underworld as hell, um, because of the fact that all of these prior belief systems were, in their eyes, wrong, and that the only afterlife that should be sought after is heaven, where God lived. So the realm of the dead that's under the earth, because the earth was seen as dirty, and especially if you're underneath the earth, that's especially dirty. Then that God that rules over it, who exists in that, is not a good God. So a lot of the times we have Hades being depicted as the bad guy. That's due to Christian understanding of the underworld and belief of the underworld.
Did they get that from when they borrowed ideas from Zoroastrianism?
So, kind of. Zoroastrianism is, for those that don't know, the oldest monotheistic belief. We, a lot of anthropologists and archaeologists don't fully know if a lot of Judeo-Christian belief was influenced by Zoroastrianism. They did interact. We do know that, but we don't know if there's any like main primary inspirations, because especially with Judaism, where Christianity comes from, and also Islamic belief, that comes from the Canaanite belief system, which existed prior to Judaism and the other two Abrahamic religions. And in Canaanite belief, it's a polytheistic belief system.
Yeah, I had a few times on this year. I had people talking about the history of that land. You know how
Mhm.
it went from, you can tell early in the Bible it was more polyistic
Yeah.
to more the Bible went down to more monolithic later on in the newer versions.
Right. Yeah, because it was much easier to present the world as a polytheistic belief system, because, you know, who rules over the waters? Oh, it's this god. Okay, who rules over the sun? That's this specific god, because it's a lot easier to understand, because you don't have to if you're following one specific, like let's say you're a traveling merchant in Greece, you know, your primary worship would go to Hermes, and because he's the god of commerce and the god of traveling. So, um, so a lot of people's belief systems would be based upon their jobs and their lifestyle. So it was just easier for everyone to have a polytheistic belief system.
So when you're not playing games to learn stuff about them, what do you do for fun?
So if I'm not, doing any research, writing, or doing video production, a lot of times I am hanging out with my wife, reading, playing with my cat. Um, right now, I am reading through the oh gosh, what is the book called? It's the Healing Power. I think the book is called The Healing Power of African American Spirituality. Um, and it's a fascinating book that talks about um, the some of the misconceptions that we have on voodoo, and as well how African belief got transferred or moved from West Africa into the Caribbean and into the greater United States. So very good book.
So I think you mentioned it earlier, and that voodoo thing is a good example of it, where different cultures merge together to create their own culture.
Yes. So I'll say this: we have voodoo, Vodun, and hoodoo. Vodou is the actual religion of what, the American layman would call voodoo. Voodoo, first and foremost, is not a thing. Um, it is a the traditional voodoo that we look at is a surprisingly racist stereotype to basically denounce the belief system of the traditional African beliefs. Hoodoo is the practice of African healing and spirituality. In there, a lot of times it is the belief system is basically looking at a holistic approach to how a person exists within the world. They're not only looking at how they exist in the material world, but also how the material world influences their beliefs and understanding of the spirit and of the creator. And you had mentioned the belief systems influencing one another, especially in the case of Vodou. The practice of hoodoo has been influenced by not only Christianity, because it is Christianity that brought them over to here and kind of demonized it, but the Native American or the indigenous peoples folklore and belief system that kind of helped influence the evolution of Vodou and Hoodoo.
So, have you ever read or familiar with I think what people call the Rick universe, Rick Riordan universe?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, he's the guy that wrote Percy Jackson.
Oh, Rick Riordan, right? Or Rick
Yeah, I
Riordan?
can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
And I know. I don't know I don't know if you know if he's accurate or not when he states talks about he had Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, and Greek mythology, and Roman. And
Yeah.
all, I don't know if you know if how accurate his version of it is or not.
So it's very funny that you bring this up because my wife in past years has been a active reader, and she very much enjoys the books. I have not read them. I am not the biggest fan of them because there's different things that happen that don't make sense to me. I understand that they make sense to other people.
Okay.
I'm not going to denounce or denote,
So
other
you don't
people's.
think they're accurate then in your opinion?
Well, I don't know if accurate would be.
Well, accurate as myths can be.
Now okay, so I'll go off on this with saying this. Beliefs like mythology as stories in and of themselves are meant to evolve, are meant to change with the growing world, because that's just how we tell stories and understand the world. We use those ancient stories to understand the world, but once we use different techniques to understand the world better that goes against these stories, well, then we need to update the story or change it in such a way that still brings that theme of the story, but still understands, or it doesn't deny the understanding of what it actually is. So using the Percy Jackson stories to learn about Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, and so on, is not a bad way to learn it. I will say, do not use them as a, you know, this is actually Greek mythology, because
But use
it
them as a
you need
resource atlas.
right. They'll take the names and use the stories for a modern setting. You know, if we take these gods and put them, you know, in New York City, how are they actually going to function? Um, so I will say, if you are going to read Percy Jackson, um, please do also read original texts,
Yeah.
so that way you
So
know where they come from.
so you said your wife's I don't know if I, I don't know if a fan. You said a fan or just a avid reader of it.
Yes, she
Uh,
is also someone who studied mythology and history, and one of her favorite subjects is um, the sort of history and mythology of medicine.
so I was wondering, what's her stance, opinion? Is she a fan of or not a fan of the two movies?
Oh, she hates the movies with a passion.
Which movies?
The Percy Jackson movies.
Oh yeah, they're awful.
Yeah, she said that they're awful.
The TV show is supposed to be good, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, we haven't watched the TV shows, so
Neither have I yet. But yeah, I don't know if I've seen anyone that loves the movies. He's talking about on YouTube.
yeah, because I think they, if I remember correctly, I think I've only watched like part of the first one, um, where they kind of don't tell the story properly, and then they just make the characters dumb.
And I don't know, I don't know everyone. I think at least from what a lot of people besides the actor is the characters went from being 11 years old to 20-year-olds.
Yeah, which is quite a big jump.
Yeah, yeah. I forget who said it. Says um uh, them being 11 and getting picked on by their step parent is totally different than from being when they're 20 and being picked on by their step parent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yeah, so yeah, so do you know much about Native American mythology?
Um, not as much as I would like to. I surprisingly enough, I grew up, um, like kind of understanding, or learning about some of the beliefs that different um, indigenous tribes held. Um, but unfortunately, it did not stick too much.
So you don't
But
know
that
if
I
any of them appear in any of the games you studied or played?
so one of the big ones that um, really shows up, and especially um, the Final Fantasy series um, and even in the Bloodborne series, are creatures known as Wendigos. Now, for um, transparency, that is the only time that I'm going to say them, because I would like to honor that belief, that consistently saying them, saying their name is going to bring about that power. But the creatures, we call them frozen hearts. Um, the Within the Final Fantasy series, they show up as a consistent enemy, typically seen as like a humanoid beast. Um, and then in the Bloodborne series, there's a lot of different uh, humanoid beasts that are depicted in that way of being, you know. Um, Now, of course, Bloodborne takes that into a more modern understanding with giving them antlers and fur, or longer hair. But a lot of times the Frozen Hearts, their body parts would elongate, their limbs, and they would grow more vicious as time went on. That's one of the big creatures of indigenous folklore. But surprisingly enough, there's not a lot of games that pull from the different folklore of the indigenous tribes of the Americas.
All right, so speaking of the Final Fantasy games, do all 16? Do you know if all 16 games have their own mythology, or are they all universal?
So the anthology that is the Final Fantasy series, from Final Fantasy 1 all the way up to 16, each of them has their own religion, in a sense,
Okay.
or belief system. So now, of course, they do still use many different elements or many different mythological creatures that are recurring characters. Like, you'll see Bahamut, you'll see Phoenix or Fenrir or Odin being used either as actual characters or summons or eidolons. But within the given worlds of the game, they have their own sort of mythology, their stories, their understanding of the world, and belief systems.
So, a personal question. I don't know how I don't know how old you are and stuff, but did you where you come from? But did you always know, or did you learn that later on in life that, at least in America, 2 was 4 and 3 was 6?
What?
Like Final Fantasy 4 became Final Fantasy 2 here.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. So my very first Final Fantasy game was Final Fantasy 7. And I had actually never played any of the original Final Fantasies until I think it was just last year. Because currently in my live streams, I am in the process of playing through every single mainline Final Fantasy game. And yeah, so when I was doing a bit of research into that while I was playing the first couple games, I found out that the whole, like, we had Final Fantasy, but it was Final Fantasy 3 and so on. So
yeah, we went from 1, 2, 3 to 7 here.
Yeah.
And like I said again, I didn't know until later on that what we thought was 2 was 4 everywhere else, and what we thought was 3 was 6 everywhere else.
Right.
It's kind of like how we later our Mario 2 wasn't their Mario 2.
Right.
Culture again, like culture differences, like with like the Sora, Kyrie, and Riku relationship in Japan and here in the dub.
Yeah, the different translations.
I think I asked this already, but was the if I didn't ask you, but was the mythology mistranslated in the dub too, or just like relationship issues?
No. So from what I can tell, I mean, of course, again, I haven't looked much into the actual language translations, but from what I can tell, a lot of the mythical elements within the Kingdom Hearts series is relatively the same.
Okay. So you said your wife likes reading the Percy Jackson series. What books do you like? You like reading books? What series do you like reading?
Yeah. So I, surprisingly enough, I very much enjoy reading nonfiction. I have a lot of the bookshelf that sits behind my desk is are more so research books and textbooks.
Oh,
I just what was it? I think about a month ago was the last book I got because I was walking through Barnes and Noble and I was like, I want to get a history book, and so I found one that is the History of the Ancient World, which is one that I want to start reading here pretty soon.
like how ancient? Like
Hold on, let me grab it. All right, let's see. Where does it start? Okay, yeah, it starts with Sumer.
okay, so not like Jurassic or Permian ancient.
No, no. It actually talks about like pretty much the start of civilization.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I always been study. That was my favorite subjects in school. And before I failed at college, I actually wanted to be a history teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, though we are focusing on the mythology videos, it is also a hope for me one day to be a professor that teaches mythology.
Oh, cool. So are you going for your doctorate or your master's?
Currently in the process of looking at master's programs. So I do have a bachelor's in history.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So
Like I said, that's what I want to do before I failed miserably at college.
well, thankfully there is online school. So
So I know you kept talking about when it's happening, but do you have any idea what you want your thesis to be on?
the joke that my wife and I keep having is that my entire script of all of the Kingdom Hearts videos be used as my thesis. Because at this point in time, I think with how much I've written, it is probably about 150 pages. And we still have more to go. So
When if you do go all the way your doctorate, are you going to change your name to Doctor Gaming Mythology?
no. The channel will remain mythology and gaming. Typically, I am referred to as Myth. So,
or you can do it mythology and gaming PhD.
maybe, but we'll see. That costs money, so.
So what other? So you mentioned I don't get with full detail, but do you know which religion or mythology each FF game represents?
That I do not know. Because I know that each of the Final Fantasy games do pull from different belief systems. Not one in a like, you know, um, I'm just using this as example, 16 pulling from Christianity or whatnot. I think the only game that, or only Final Fantasy that really pulls strongly is Final Fantasy 12. I believe that one pulls from Hindu belief a lot. Because a lot of the voice acting, what is it? Costumes, the designs, the names of the different places, some of the different creatures do pull a lot from Hindu belief. But I have not looked into what the others, if the others do have a primary religious influence.
Yeah, right now, at least chronologically, the last FF game I played was 11.
Okay.
Their first attempt at an online MMORPG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I in my live streams of playing through all the Final Fantasy games, I think we played that one for about 2 hours. So I was like, let's see how far we can make it on a hardcore character, where we make the character, and if we die, that's the end. And I think I made it about 2 hours. I think I fought like 2 enemies and then died.
Yeah, I died easy. I've never tried hardcore rules before because
Mm-hmm.
I took quickly, but yeah. And I played it until every one of my friends that played it with me jumped over the Warcraft.
Yeah, I've been playing World of Warcraft, since it began. It was.
Yeah, I'm currently off of it because I have no money, but
Oh yeah, same here.
but yeah, I did jump back and play the classic version because the time for a while at the time the retail version got so I don't know what happened to it, but in my opinion the retail got crazy, so I just went back. So I never played classic when it first came out, so I went back and played it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started. I'm what they call the Wrath baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm anytime that I do play, it'll be in classic.
Maybe someday if we both have money again, we can do a guild together or something.
Sure.
So, you have a preference, or you have a preference? You not care about Horde Alliance rules?
Primarily I'll play Alliance, but occasionally I'll play Horde.
Yeah, so I've done both depending on the people I play with. The thing is, whoever I play with, I join their guild no matter what they are. So I don't really have a preference in the war side or anything because I am terrible. I suck at PvP.
Yeah, I did PvP for a while in that game, and then it got real old real quick.
Yeah, getting ganked is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I mainly only time I like doing it is in battlegrounds when they're dedicated areas, not when I'm questing.
Yeah.
So but because of that, do you know if there's any mythology behind each of the races there, or the Horde Alliance things? You know?
So, I mean, the entirety of the Warcraft series, going all the way back to orcs and humans.
Did you ever play that game back in the day?
Oh yeah, my brother and I were big into Warcraft and StarCraft when they first came out. So it is a lot. Talking about it is difficult because there is it's so expansive at this point that it is a series that I've tried to cover. I think I've done one video for World of Warcraft, but it's a lot, and it's
maybe that could be a
overwhelming to.
future. Maybe that could be a future thing in your future. You can do a in the future when you do different games. You can do like a deep dive on each race.
Yeah, the because you have the humans that essentially worship the light, viewing the light as a divine essence, not necessarily a God per se, as we would view, like in the Christian sense, you have God as a person essentially.
Yeah, I think in the original Warcraft game, it was more Christianity based, but later on they went from the Christian God to more of the light.
Right, exactly. And then for the the Night Elves, for instance, they had a more druidic type of view of the world. So there are different entities that they would pull from. The trolls have the Loa, which are the kind of godly animals that exist. And then, of course, you have all of them are influenced by the Titans, who they themselves pull from different mythologies and religions. So
I know Warcraft did that a lot, but have you played any other games that have been retconned like crazy?
Not that I can think of. No, I don't think there's any games that I've played that have been, retconned to Hades and back.
Like I know WoW has been retconned like crazy, but
Yep.
What about you said mythology is evolved over time. Is that similar to being retconned?
What do you mean?
Well, how like when you first start or the myth, whatever game first starts in the history, this happened. Then in 3 or 4 games later on, what you thought would happen totally didn't happen.
I don't think so.
Okay, because I'm sorry, I read where like in some mythology, like this one god was the god of whatever. Then later on, that god became the god of something differently.
Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about now. Let's see. I can't think of any specific gods, but I do know that there are some that as gods were changed, they still presided over specific things, but then others were added on to them. I'm trying to think of any examples. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head.
I'd love to talk for more, but my tooth is killing me right now. I need to get some med. Yeah, I gotta go to the dentist. I had to wait till next Friday to go see my dentist. So I gotta. So yeah, if we're gonna continue this, I'll look into conversation later. Having part 2 in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so anything you want to advertise?
Sure. So every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do our live streams over on YouTube. Pretty soon here, we're going to be multi-streaming over on Twitch as well. We were primarily on Twitch and then moved over to YouTube, but things have changed. And there we're playing through all of the Final Fantasy games. Currently, we're on Final Fantasy 13. And in every single one of these streams, we will usually talk about the different mythological elements that are seen within the games and have fun, play with them, talk about random things as well. But come May 6th, we do have our next episode out for the mythology within Kingdom Hearts. We release the first Wednesday of every month. So, we are starting.
What was next on your Kingdom Hearts series?
So last time we finished up our first visit to Hollow Bastion, and come the 6th, we'll be back at our fourth and final visit for Traverse Town. And then, and so we are.
So it'll be the visit where Kyrie gives you her lucky medallion, the Oathkeeper.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we'll be talking about that, but that'll be released on the 6th of May. I do have a TikTok where I post most of my shorts. Just made one recently talking about Charmander and how he is and isn't a dragon Pokemon. But yes, I do have a second channel where I post any and all shorts, TikTok, Instagram, a Patreon as well, where we post videos ahead of schedule and updates to any series. But yeah.
Oh, I thought two questions before we go. One, okay. Have you read the Kate manga series?
The which one?
Kingdom Hearts manga.
No, I've seen images of it, but I've never actually read the manga.
Yes. Yeah, I feel bits and pieces too. Is like I said, their storyline, most of the storyline is totally different than the game.
Right.
And two, different games. There's a lot of different, like in Final Fantasy and Warcraft and all others, and but there are a lot of stories about different elves.
Different what?
Elves, you know.
Oh, yes. So elves are a very common theme, or a very common figure and creature within nearly all the Final Fantasy games, and a lot of other games as well. Elves and as well fairies have a very long and shared history and mythology. Surprisingly, or funny enough, I actually talk about it in my Neverland video with Tinkerbell, since she is a fairy and a pixie. So, but one of the biggest influences that we have of elves as a whole comes from Norse belief, where you have two different types of elves. You have the light elves and the dark elves. For the dark elves specifically, you can view them as dwarves, essentially, but dwarves with black or gray skin, essentially. And they are a lot like the regular dwarves of Norse myth, where they are crafters. And they are constantly, essentially, bickering with the light elves. And the light elves are seen more so as like ethereal humans. So a lot of, if you've ever read any of the Lord of the Rings books or seen the movies, the elves that are depicted in there take from the Norse belief of elves.
Yeah. Cool. So, as for what I'm doing in the future, I haven't really a date yet because I have nothing really planned for next May. But right now, we're working on getting a date because speaking of Kingdom Hearts and Disney, we're gonna rank every Disney villain from worst to best.
Very nice.
I don't know if it's a character or story or what we're going to do, but yeah, we're like. So, real fast, what do you think? Who do you think is the worst Disney villain in terms of character? Or favorite?
Let's see. Worst Disney villain, and we're just talking about the villain themselves.
Yeah, like anywhere from the evil queen of Snow White to I don't know who the most modern Disney villain is.
Let's see. I kind of want to say. Now, when we hold on, another question. When we say worst, like, as in bad, or like they're so bad they're good?
I'm not sure. That's the thing. It's all equivalent. Like the Disney villains of the past were more one dimensional, and the ones that they have more nuance, I guess, than more modern times.
So, I think the Disney villain that I enjoy the most with being a villain is Scar. He is a fantastic villain. You know, you see his strength of mind is, sort of mirrored or opposite to Mufasa's, strength of actual physical strength. So it's very fun to see his rise and fall in The Lion King. As for like terrible villain, I think Gaston I would put as like the worst, as in just bad, because just don't like him.
he's like just generic or something, or
yeah, he is a bit too generic for me, but I can see how Gaston would be people's favorite villain since he is more grounded in reality.
Yeah, it's good Disney villains. I wonder why Kingdom Hearts cut out the part where Clayton hanged himself in their game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, something to do with the teen rating or E, or
like after we defeat his Heartless and Nobody, he gets put back together and then he hangs himself off screen.
Yeah,
and that's why Tarzan never reappeared in Kingdom Hearts.
We'll go with that story.
That's going to do with copyright.
Yes, no.
Yeah. Right. So like I said, check out his channel. Yeah, I will put the link in the description and other stuff. Do you have a catchphrase you say at the end of your shows?
At the end of every video, I typically say, "Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time."
As I say, never stop learning. Enjoy the randomness. We'll see you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching my podcast or Let's Play. If you want to help support my channel, you can make a monthly or yearly pledge on Patreon, or just a one-time donation on Vimeo, PayPal, or Cash App. For those looking for something to wear, we have some shirts, hats, and other stylish things in our merch store. If you enjoy gaming, you can always follow and sub to me on Twitch. For those who don't want to give money, I have an Amazon and Steam wish list who can help the channel out. And of course, just liking, leaving a comment, and sharing this video helps more than you can imagine. And always remember to never stop learning and enjoy the randomness.